Right. Well, good morning to everyone, or afternoon, depending where you are. Most likely it's going to be morning. We had an earlier one for the Americas, for the European region. So that will make it kind of like afternoon for them right now. My name is Jaime Rosales. So I'm a senior developer advocate for the Forge platform. And I see some names that I had on Monday. So thank you again for joining and welcome back. And for those of you that are new, probably you either attended the one on Tuesday or you are already part of the Learn Forge material like knowledge group of people, and then you just want to start with the dashboard part of it. And also, if you have any questions, please feel free to ping on the Q&A section. So let's get started. Okay, so like again, Jaime Rosales, and this is my Twitter, AfroJME. As you can see, I guess my hair, I took a shower a couple hours ago, but still a little bit wet. But it will get drier as we progress this training. You will get to see it. So understanding this training, so we will basically split up the training with quick sessions during the day. It is most of a self-learning with a live review training. And we will be following the learnforge.autodesk.io. And today we will be following the dashboard section. So the goal for this training itself, it's that you leave today with an application similar to this one. Basically, we will be adding functionality into your application in order to interact with charts that are getting created with the use of the metadata of that CAD model that we see on the screen and on the viewer. On the first column, this Giphy basically shows you access to BIM 360, but if you did the training on the first day with me, you can also use that same project where you basically had access to your own buckets hosted on the cloud. Okay. So at the end itself, we're going to be using the same kind of data that gets loaded into the viewer. And off we go. So because of that, everything that we will do today will happen on the client side. So purely JavaScript for us today and some HTML and CSS. Okay, so for the agenda, all times are in US Pacific. So right now we're doing the intro and setup. We will do a quick check-in again around 9 a.m. to see if there are any questions. And actually, so in the way that we have been doing it is that I will do just a quick checkout around between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. And if everybody is good to go, we can continue. If not, I will just come back again at 10 a.m. to continue with the next section and so on. Okay. So how to ask questions. So in the bottom of your screen, you have a Q&A section, also a raise hand and a chat option. You can use the Q&A, and also if you want me to unmute your mic, you can raise a hand, and that way I can unmute your mic. And then from there, you're going to be able to basically ask live the question that you want to ask. And same thing for the chat. If you guys want to share anything in there or something like that, just use the chat for that. Okay, so let's get started. So for the intro and setup section, we have a couple of first steps that we need to do in case you were not part of that. So with that matter, let me ask, because I see a couple of people here that I recognize that already went through this process. But does any one of you have not done this? Can you raise a hand? And that way we will like continue with this. All right, Sandy. All right, cool. So yeah, we will continue with this, and I think the rest of you. Oh, I remember Scott Moses. Okay, cool. All right, awesome. So yes, so we will continue with this section, and if you have any questions, also just let me know. Okay, so the first steps basically are to head over to the accounts.autodesk.com. If you don't have an Autodesk ID already, this is the first step that you need to take. you can create your user with your email account. It can be your work one or your personal one, whatever you prefer. And then once you have that Autodesk ID, you are able to log in into the Autodesk system, and you are going to head over to forge.autodesk.com. From there, you're going to sign in again with that recently created Autodesk ID. And we will move into the section of the app creation. Okay, so you're going to head over. You will see something under your avatar here that will show you a section to My Apps. And then from My Apps, we're going to create an app. Okay. So basically, how do you create an app? So you hit the Create App. You're going to see a couple of APIs that are exposed in there. And before we do that, well, actually, let's continue with this, and then I'll show you live what you need to do. We will add a callback URL that we can provide you actually from the LearnForge material. And from there, you're going to get an access to a client ID and a client secret that we're going to be using for authenticating ourselves against the Autodesk server. And then we will be able to use the Forge services. Also for this tutorial, we're going to be using the following. I'm going to be focusing on the Node.js project. If you have one of the projects that you did on the recent trainings, that it's the .NET Core one, that's completely fine. Since, like I said at the beginning, we're going to be only focusing on the client side of the application today. So it doesn't matter what you have on the server side. It can be the Node one, the .NET Core one, framework, PHP, whatever you actually picked. We're just going to be focusing on the client side. But the one that I will be using, it's basically running on Node.js. Also, if you don't have an IDE, I can recommend one, which is the Visual Studio Code. This is actually a pretty cool tool in order to develop your code. It gives you opportunity to do debugging on the server side directly there. And also my colleague, Peter Bross, he built an extension for Visual Studio Code that allows you to use most of the functionality that it's available within the platform of Forge. Also, Git is always something cool to use in case you want to clone a repo that we already have, in case you're coming into this tutorial without the project that we're going to be using as a base. Okay. So as a starting point, can you guys raise a hand if you do not have one of the View Your Models or View BIM 360 Models project yet? Okay, all right. So this is one of the steps that we're going to be using in order to do this. So we will be getting a sample directly from the learnforge.autodesk.io material, and I will show you that shortly. We will select, for this case, the View Your Models, because the BIM 361 requires some setup previously, and that might take us a little bit of time, but you are welcome to use it later if you want to swap it. And like I said, for beginning of this part, we're going to be focusing on the Node.js project. We will be downloading and extracting that repo, and we will be following those steps on the README section. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to clone one of these projects, basically the one that it's under our GitHub, Autodesk-Forge, and then we're going to be focusing on the LearnForge view models. And in the tree section, we're going to select the Node.js part of it. Once we set up that, we will set up the VS Code launch debugger in order for us to include the client ID and client secret, and also install the dependencies. Okay, so let me get into a live demo of what I just explained. So and that way you guys don't have to fully remember that. You can just kind of follow along. Okay. All right, so let me end this. Head over here. Okay. So what I said was, one important thing to do is before you start coding, head over into this section on the learnforge.autodesk.io section. we're gonna head over to before you start coding, and then we're gonna be creating the Forge account, like I said at the beginning. So we can open this new tab. So we're gonna head over to this section here. Let me bring down my camera down here. Okay, so if you have already signed in, you will see something like this, okay? One thing that you need to do if you're a first-time user with logging into Forge, is that you need to start your account. So at this moment, you're in a trial basis, but you need to start that subscription. We give you 90 days free access to the subscription, which includes also 100 cloud credits for you to use for translations and some other uses of the platform as well. But you need to do this part, because other than that, we will not have access to all the different services that we require for this tutorial. So again, if you head over here, we're gonna activate that subscription. So you're gonna head over to My Subscription, and on that page that opens, you're gonna click Start the Free Trial, okay? So once you do that start of the free trial, starting today, you will have 90 days to use the platform as much as you want, with those included 100 cloud credits for you to test out and then decide if you would like to subscribe to the platform. The price for the platform is $100 a year. This gives you access to all the different services that the platform contains. And at the same time, also, this $100 a year gives you 100 cloud credits for you to use and renew every year. If you run out of those credits, you can always buy more, like on demand. So whatever you actually end up needing, you can always buy more. Okay, so once you head over to the creation of the app, we give you a callback URL. If you did the BIM 360 tutorial, you will actually need this callback URL in order to interact with the three-legged authentication. But if not, if you're using the View Your Models, you still need this one in order to create a new application. And then, so you end up adding it in the section when you create the app. You select all the different services, create an app name, add a description, and at the bottom, you will add this callback URL, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna head over to My Apps. So I created one on Monday for the Forge Bootcamp, October 2020 Node.js. So I think I might actually reuse this one. So basically, I created with all the different services included. I added the callback URL that I just mentioned you can obtain from this section, okay? And then I also have the client ID and the client secret. So with that, I'm gonna be able to connect into the Forge platform and then be able to start using the different services, okay? So let me just, I have does the 90 days trial applies to BIM 360 design customers? Yes. So the Forge platform, it's completely separate from the BIM 360 design customers. This is more to adding to basically accessing the APIs of the, on the Forge platform. Okay, so let's continue with this. All right. So now we're gonna, again, head over here. And then once we create that app and we are done with the apps, if we don't have any of the tools, we can head over into the tools section, get the Node.js set up. It gets you into authentication. We're gonna skip this part and we're gonna head over to View Your Models, okay? I have the callback URL does not matter if you're using the View Your Model sample. You just need to fill out something in there. We recommend using that localhost one that I just referenced, because once you start building some other stuff later, definitely will make a difference. And it's something easier for you to actually remember. But it's up to you if you want to use it or not. As long as you just don't leave it blank, you should be okay. Okay. So if it's, like I said, if it's your first time using this tutorial, I'm not gonna make you go through all the steps right now because that we did on Monday and also on Tuesday. It might take a little bit of time to get it set up, but you can easily head over to, if you wanna download the project ready to use, visit the following repos. So we will focus on the Node.js one today. So if we open a new tab with this, it's gonna take you to our LearnForge view models repo. Okay, if you see, we have different sections for all the different kind of languages, but we have to make sure that Node.js is selected. Okay, so once we have Node.js selected, we can either, if you feel comfortable using Git, you could clone this this repo. But honestly, the easiest thing to do will be in this code section, you're gonna download this as a zip. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we download this as a zip file. We click on it to extract it. We go into here, and then you see now that we have all the different files that we're gonna need in order for our application to run. We have the server side, the authentication piece, the model derivative use, the OSS, and also on the public, for the client side, we have everything in relations to the CSS, the HTML, and the JavaScript as well. But if you notice, since we're using Node, we're still missing something here, which is the Node modules section, okay? So let me open a new Visual Studio. We're gonna open that folder. So it's on my downloads. We're gonna select this one and open. Okay, make this a bit bigger. So like I said, we have index.html, the JavaScript, the CSS, also the routes, and so on. Okay, and we're using Node. So for the package.json, we have a couple of dependencies, which are these 3 Node modules. It's an Express app, so we need Express. We need the Forge APIs module, of course, because right now we cannot connect to the different services. And then we use Multer also as a package in order for us to be able to upload files into the bucket section. Okay. So the first thing that we can do with this is in the terminal, we're gonna add a new terminal. So this gives us access to a terminal. And one thing we can always do before to make sure that we have Node installed in our machine, it's just to run the simple command of node -- version. And this will give us if we have the current version of Node that we're running. So also, since we're gonna be using NPM, once you install Node, you usually get NPM, but it's always cool and good to check. So we have NPM as well. So since we're at this root level of the project, now we can install this. And we can simply run npm install. And this will basically check the package JSON. And it will start installing all the modules that are dependencies for the Express, for APIs, and Multer. And if we head over here and we do a refresh, now we have a folder that is called Node modules. So those Node modules are included now. As you can see, we have quite a lot of them already part of it because this one's kind of depend on others, and it's always like basically good to have it. But we have the Express one here, we have the Forge APIs, and then also we have Multer somewhere around here. Yeah. So we do have the modules that we need. Okay. Now, one thing that we need to do in order to run this, basically, we have a run section here. We do not have something to start debugging because we need to add a configuration. So when we hit add a configuration, it gives us a couple of options of what kind of environment do we want to add. And in this case, like I said, we're using Node.js, and we're going to be using this kind of setup. So we hit Node.js, and now we have this. But this actually does not do anything for our project. So we can go back to this section, and I'm going to post you guys that link of where you can get what we need for that. So we install the packages. That's what we just did. And now we have this section that basically we give you, oh, I'm sorry, not this one. It's this one. We give you a launch JSON setup in order to include the Forge client ID, the Forge client secret, and the callback URL if you're using any, okay? So we can simply, let me paste you guys this first. All panelists and attendees. Oh, that's not the one. 1 second. Launch JSON, this is the one. Okay, that second one is the right one to take you to here. So you can copy this to clipboard, okay? And then head back here. We do Command A, I'm on a Mac, so that selects everything. Clean it up, paste the new one, save it. But now, if you notice, we have some section for us to run our client ID and secret here. So let me add that right now. We have client ID, okay? Client secret. You guys are gonna see my secret right now, but don't worry, I will regenerate once I leave you, okay? Save, and now we have launch JSON setup, no module setup, public routes, all the rest of the project itself already set up, okay? So I don't think I have anything else running on my local host. Let's see. No, I don't. So it's empty. There's nothing running there. Now we can hit run, and we do start debugging. So once we start debugging, you see the console actually telling you that it's going to read the start.js file. And now the server is listening on the port 3000, okay? So now if we refresh this localhost, we're going to get to see our project running. Basically, this is the one that I was using on Monday. So that bucket's still there. But since my bucket policy, it's a transient, my stuff is gone. So I need to upload something new. So let's do downloads. And I have some projects somewhere here that I had. Yes. Rack basic sample. It's just a sample Revit project. So that should be coming up soon. Yep. So now I can click here and it says the file's not translated yet. So we start the translation and basically just to start and wait a moment for now. So while we wait, I want to ask you guys if you have any questions. Awesome. What was the VS Code extension or tool for Node.js backend you mentioned earlier? Probably the one that I talk about is this Forge one. So this Forge one basically gives you access to buckets and derivatives API, hubs and derivatives access with data management, webhooks, design automation. We can start seeing stuff about the files that we have, all like if we have derivatives already ready for that, to have them there. If not, we can start doing some kind of actions that we are allowed to do with the API. So you can look up for that VS Code extension in the extension section. And the name of it, it's Autodesk Forge Tools. Okay. The transient bucket policy, yes. So in the routes, you head over to OSS. Buckets, it's part of the data management API and also the OSS, the object storage service. You head over to here. And then the tutorial itself kind of comes in with the policy already being transient. Okay, so we can actually do a quick look for. Yeah. So on line 82, when you do the router to create a bucket, you define what's going to be that policy key for the bucket. And in this case, the tutorial comes in with a transient policy, which means that everything will expire within 24 hours. If you want to change that, we have two other ones, which are the temporary one that keeps everything for 30 days, or the persistent one, which will keep everything for until you decide to delete the bucket. Okay. All right, so now let me head over back to here. This should be ready. Yep. All right, so now, yes, we have that application running one of our models that we just recently translated. Okay. So that was with the live demo. So basically now it's a matter of you to start a hands-on. So like I said, get started with the before start coding section, get the tools. I recommend VS Code if you don't have any tool already that you feel comfortable with. If you do, might as well just use it. It's something, I don't want to change your way of coding, I guess. But yeah, so that's one of the things that you're gonna be doing as of now. So start your trial subscription if you don't have one. Upload some files to that, and then also on the view models, like I said, let me get back here. You're gonna head over to here. You can download this as a zip, extract it, open it up in your Visual Studio Code, open up a new terminal, run the npm install command. So that way it installs your module that are part of the package JSON, and create your configuration for VS Code in order to set up the launch JSON, add the client ID secret and callback URL, and then basically start debugging. And that should give you your application running on that localhost port 3000. Okay. Do we have any other questions before I leave you to it? No questions from right now? Feel free to raise a hand also if you want me to unmute your mic. Okay, it seems like everything is pretty good and pretty clear. So I will leave you to it. I will come back in 30 minutes just to check how you guys are doing. And then the ones that are not finished yet, don't worry, we'll continue with that. And then back again at 10, we'll start with the next section. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. I'll see you in a bit. Okay. So next step, we're going to be focusing on the adjustment of the layout and also preparing our data to be displayed by the charts. So reviewing that the setup is ready, basically by now you should have a Forge account and an app, so the client ID and the secret, the IDE installed and running, and also a Node.js project running. So if we all clear out all these steps, we are good. Node.js, Visual Studio Code, so no time to move forward. So what are we going to be working on right now? So basically, we are going to be working in adjusting the layout of the screen. At this moment, we have the screen itself can be divided into the navigation bar at the top, where we have that Autodesk Forge logo. And then below that, we have two components. One component that it's being used right now for the JS3. So the folder structure, where we get to see our buckets or folders. And then also the files, items, versions, or whatever you're using. And then on the right side, we have a component that is dedicated for the space of the viewer. Okay, so, and we are going to be adding a new folder inside of the JavaScript one that it's going to be called dashboard. And in there, we're going to be adding a new file, which is going to be called dashboard.js. And also we will be modifying or just adding a couple more functions into the main.css to later on add that script in order to reference that dashboard.js into our index.html in order to start with the adjustment of the layouts. Okay. So what we're going to do right now, it's basically add this dashboard.js file, and we're going to be adjusting the main.css in order to include a couple of new IDs and classes in order to basically create that kind of animation of the transition whenever we are going to be resizing certain components in the display of our UI. Okay. And then later on, we're going to be doing the preparation of the data. So for that, we're going to be creating a dashboard panel.js file that it's going to take care of the part of preparing the data that we're going to be showing on those graphs. We're going to be using a pie chart and also a bar chart in order to display the different kind of categories that we have in there. And at the same time, also, we need to add a reference to the script of that in the same way that we did of the dashboard.js, but we're going to do it right after the script that we added for the dashboard.js and add that script in the HTML. All right, so let's do the live demo for this. Okay. So let's see where we dashboard. So basically, like I said, we need to do some sort of modification into the layout in order to add this new component that is going to be having the charts being displayed on the UI. We don't need that much space anymore for the JS3. This thing will get like an automatic scroll as well, so that can still be used in case we want to kind of like move a little bit more to the right. And I think most of the times the important part of the application should be the viewer, because it's kind of like the visual component that we have for the platform. So definitely it's something cool to visualize and all that. If you prefer to make it a little bit smaller and make your graphs a little bit bigger because you want to include more graphs, feel free to do that. All right, so adjusting the layout. So this step of the tutorial basically is to just do a basic layout of your application to add that extra column of charts like I mentioned before. So we're going to be creating a new dashboard folder under the JS folder to place the new files. And then we're going to be creating the dashboard.js file. Basically, this code will adjust that page layout, and then the viewer, basically at the time of loading and the geometry to be completed, is going to launch the charts in order to be displayed with that model data when the model data is loaded. I have a typo here. I might have to change that later. So again, we're going to be creating a dashboard.js file under the JS dashboard folder with the following content. So we're going to be using, again, the document ready. So basically, whenever this thing gets triggered, we need to check a couple of things in order to insert this into the DOM of the application. And it's always good to check if we have a viewer running. This not viewer, it's kind of like a how do I say this? Kind of like a global identifier of the viewer within the application. It's something that we use. You can also use, let's say, viewer, because it's the one that you have instantiated in it. I think we might actually switch to viewer. We'll try that. And then we're going to be adding that new dashboard class in order to add the new bar chart and the new pie chart. And we're going to be focusing on the material, but we also can change which ones are we going to be focusing on. And I can show you also a way to identify what are the ones available within the model. And the reason that we do material, it's because material, most likely it's going to be present in the model that you have. It doesn't matter if it's a Revit file or an inventor file and so on. If you do something very specific for a Revit model, and then you load an inventor file, it might be missing. So it will give you an error and it will not display the chart. Okay. And I see that I have a question. Can the viewer access Revit warnings? That's a good question. And I will say no. When you say warnings, is whenever you have not like a parameter, right? Just a simple warning whenever you get the model initialized in Revit. Is that what you mean? I can also enable your mic. 1 second, Scott. Yeah, you can talk now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's been dashboards created for accessing from the Revit file, the Revit warnings dialog in Revit. And since the viewer could access materials and other family instances, I was wondering if it could display those warnings, such as often you get warnings. A room separation line does not connect, or you have unplaced rooms, or those types of errors that Revit keeps track of.
I don't know if out of the box with the viewer you could access that, because the viewer basically is reading all the metadata that comes in with the Revit model. And if that warnings are being passed on into the metadata, yeah, probably you can. If they're not, maybe something that you can probably do later will be using design automation and have a certain bundle or a plugin that it's dedicated to do the extraction of all those warnings for that specific model that you're sending to design automation. Once you have that JSON data extracted, you can populate a new dashboard with that. Okay, so it will be probably like a two-step kind of thing to do, but just out of the box directly in the viewer, I see it a little bit difficult because I don't think that information will be available. It will be a matter of testing and trying to find out if the data is there or not. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me continue with this. Okay, so later on we'll create this this dashboard class where we're gonna create the part of the constructor. We need to add an event listener into the viewer because we will not trigger this unless we have geometry loaded. And the reason we do that, it's because other than that, the chart itself will not have data ready in order to be displayed if the full geometry of the viewer is actually loaded. So it's always good practice to wait for that geometry to be loaded, and then we load the panels. Okay. Let's see, I have another question. The one in the Forge3.js basically gets started when we load the application, and then when we click on the model, we will get trigger to also load the one in the dashboards. So the difference is just the different timing that we're actually loading those files. So technically, in some way, the document ready will be the same thing for both of them. It's just that if we don't, if we load the I guess the dashboards at the beginning of the application loading, we haven't selected a model yet into the viewer. And like I said, we need that geometry to be loaded in order for us to have the data and then be able to display the dashboards. So it gets initialized, but it doesn't get loaded until you perform the action of selecting the model that you're going to be loading into the viewer. And then this thing actually gets triggered because we will have something in the viewer that will route it into the dashboard.js file. Okay, so, and then we're going to create one for adjusting that layout. So the function may vary from layout to layout. So basically, we're going to be focusing on that adjusting of the rows. I have one, I think I did done. Yeah. And then we will create also a smooth transition with a class that we will create inside of the main CSS, which we're going to call transition with. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is that on the row 0, which is the one that is going to contain the JS3, we will remove the size of small 4 and do the transition width to make it a small 2. And then on the row 1, we're gonna, which is the one for the viewer, we're gonna remove that small 8 and add a new class that it's gonna be a small 7 with transition width. And after it does that, we're gonna add a new small 3 with transition width that will contain the dashboards, okay? Everything at the end needs to add up to 12. So right now we have 4 and 8, which is basically 4 for the tree, 8 for the viewer. That adds up to 12. And then we're going to reduce it to 2, to 7, and to 3. And that also, again, adds up to 12. Okay. And then we're going to be loading the panels, bar this of the model metadata in order to be able to pass in that information of the viewer and the data into the panels. And we will be adding that reference of the script into the HTML in order for us to be able to get that part. Later on, we will adjust the main CSS, adding a new identifier for the dashboard that basically will have an overflow of auto with the height to be calculated into the screen. So that way it will not go out of the screen or just stay short of the screen. We will create this transition width using a CSS class called transition. We'll do a width with 1 second easing out in order to do that smooth transition on it. Or not, it's gonna get choppy and it's not gonna look good. I'm a big fan of this kind of applications that are simple, minimalist, and also look good to the eye. And then the dashboard panel, we will define the sizes for that. Okay, so let's get started with this part. So dashboard.js, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna go back to here. And inside of the JS3, we're gonna add a new folder. I call this dashboard. Inside of dashboard, we're gonna create a new file, dashboard.js. Paste this information here. We have the low panels, the adjust layout, the dashboard, and the document ready. Okay, so we're good with that. Now we're gonna go into the main CSS. So it's not like we're gonna have to get rid of something in the main CSS. We're just gonna add some other stuff. And we're gonna add the dashboard, transition width, and dashboard panel. So we add that, dashboard panel, transition width, dashboard. Okay, cool. All right, so now we're gonna move into the panel basics. And then there are some explanations about here about what we're gonna be doing in order to prepare that data. You don't have to use this code. This is just something that we use to explain. Basically, there are several ways to organize this data, like arrays, for example, or we can use like a JavaScript object, like a hash table or so on. The way that we do about data itself, we're accessing data and then the sub key in order to get that value for it. And we have also multiple levels that you can kind of like navigate down with a key or a sub key. And in this case, we can use this kind of approach in order to store that property name based with the DB IDs of those objects, like the data category and then the walls, and then get back the IDs of those walls, for example. So for the dashboard panel.js, we will be reusing something that's called a get all leaf components that was shown yesterday with the viewer extension tutorial. So if you're curious about that, you can head over to the get all leaf components in order to understand a little bit more of what we're gonna be doing that. And then we will use this in order to get the properties, which will come in as raw data. So under the JS dashboard, we're gonna be creating a new file, which is gonna call dashboard panel.js with the following content. So the dashboard panel base will have, again, the dashboard panel, where we're going to be loading parent div ID, which in this case will be the dashboard, the div ID, and the viewer. In here, we're going to be appending that dashboard panel into the div of the HTML page. And then we're going to be doing the dashboard panel for the charts. So we're going to do a dashboard panel chart that will extend the dashboard panel, load basically the viewer, the model data, the div ID with the different data that comes in from the model. We always do a check just to see if the model itself contains the data that we're using that has the property of this dot property to use. So in this case, this is where we can identify, for example, and we're going to be passing on the property of material, like I showed you before. When we are running on the debugger, we can investigate this part in order to see what else is available with our model. And if you want to test out and try, let's say, instead of getting material, you want to get something like category in order to show you all the different families and so on, we can try that and do that as well. And in case it doesn't have it, it will alert you and tell you that this model does not contain, for example, material, category, property for the constructor name itself. And it will tell you these are the properties available on this model, and it will console log everything that is available from that model itself. So later on, we will, again, start a div ID with some canvas, because we need the canvas in order to display the data of those charts. And then we can do a random of the generation of the colors that our charts are going to have. We choose random because we don't want to be focusing in, let's say, having two different data identifiers with the same color. You can even change the kind of colors that you want to focus on as well. So this is kind of like up to you. This is some stuff that we're doing directly with the Charts.js library. And then we will be doing the model data for the format of the charts, where we're going to be using, again, the get all leaf components that we mentioned yesterday on the viewer extension, and composing that entire set of properties that the model actually gives us in a raw data way into something that we can pass into the dashboard to structurize it better in order for our dashboards to display the data. And then we do a callback to get all leaf components, where we're doing the viewer getting the object 3 of everything that it's part of that model, getting some labels, checking if it has property, getting a count instance, and getting all the IDs from that model itself. And then later on also, we're going to be adding that script tag to the index.html. And actually, that's something that I forgot on the last one. So let me get back to here. Yes, right here. I forgot that step, and it's important because other than that, we're not going to see it. So going to index down here, and we have a section for dashboard files. Okay, this is where we're going to be adding the other one. Okay, so go to panel basics. So now we're going to create this dashboard.panel.js. Okay, so select the folder, add a new file, dashboard panel.js. I'm going to be always checking my syntax because I might type something wrong and then stuff doesn't work. Dashboard panel.js, dashboard. Cool. And now we can do the script as well for that source. So we head over here and we copy the clipboards, and then come down here and do this. So dashboard panel.js, dashboard.js. So both of the scripts are reference. I think we're good to go. And I think for now, that will be it, because the next step will be to add the charts. Okay. So we're done with the dashboard panel.js, and we add the dashboard script right after the dashboard.js one. And we did the adjustment of the layout with this. So if we run this right now, basically it's not gonna do anything. We don't have yet an invocation to the dashboards itself. So let me see. So one thing to test is that if your project keeps loading correctly, that means it's still working and you added all the code. So it should be okay at this point. Let me see if there is something in the console. So yeah, so you see, you will get an error right now that the bar chart is not defined. So that's one of the reasons that it's giving you this error, but don't worry about it because on the next section, we're gonna be adding the file for the bar charts and also for the pie chart, and then this error will not happen again. But this is a way for us to be able to just tell that we added that code correctly and it's part of it. Let me see if I can show you what I was saying before. Yeah, so you see it basically fails on this new dashboard and then creating the bar chart itself. Low panels, viewer undefined, document ready. So it is starting to invoke that. This is load panels, adjust the layout. So yeah, it's not gonna pass because it's still looking for that other part, but, and then dashboard panel, model data viewer. What happens if I put a breakpoint here? I don't think it's gonna hit it still, but let's try it for science. Yeah, no, so it's not gonna hit it there yet because since it failed, it's not getting past that point. So, but we will get to see it after the next section, okay? All right, any questions for now? All right, so is it 1 p.m.? What time is it? No, I think it's too late for 1 p.m. So let's see. This and then. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with my time zones. So it is 1:25 for me, but that's gonna be PSD. It's gonna be 10:25. So we will see you back for questions at 11 a.m. and back for the next section at 12 p.m. PSD. I got mixed up with my, I think that's correct. Let's see. 12. Yes. What's the one before? Sorry, I got confused. Yeah, it was way too much off. So no. You don't have to wait that much. So yeah, 12 p.m. for continuing with the chart.js and adding the charts section to it. And yeah, okay. So I see one question. You place all the files in the JS folder. Perfect. In the JS folder, but you have to create a dashboards folder. Yeah, if you heard what I just said, it's not gonna show you anything right now. Basically, if you check the console of Chrome, it will show you an error that says that the bar chart is not defined. And that's okay, because that means that this is the next step that we have to do. But it is invoking that dashboard panel and dashboard.js file, okay? Yeah. Done. All right, cool. All right, so I will leave you to it. I'll be back in a bit to solve any other questions that you guys may have. And then, yeah, good luck with this. Thank you, guys. Okay, cool. So now we will get started with the last part of the tutorial, which is the chart.js and the adding of those charts to our current project. All right. So by now, you should have the adjustment of the layout. So that was the dashboard.js, the changes on the main CSS. Well, not changing, just adding of the new code. And then also the preparation of the data with the dashboard panel.js. Both of them should be referenced in the index.html. So now we're going to be adding, again, to our dashboard folder, we're going to be adding panel bar chart.js and a panel pie chart.js. So let me get to it. All right. So we head over to adding of the charts. Okay. And give me 1 second. I have someone in the chat. Would you be able to share the PPT final you're using for the presentation? Yeah, I could share the PowerPoint. We're gonna have. I'm recording, so in some way, I think that might be easier to follow along. Just the recording of the video. So whenever I'm done with this, whenever we're done with the week of bootcamps, we still have one more tomorrow. We will be posting those videos available for you guys to reference. But I could share the PowerPoint as well. That's not a problem. Okay, so basically what we're going to be using for our charts.js, it's going to be this third-party library. It's called chart.js. It's an open source HTML5 library, quite flexible with the use of JavaScript and so on, where you have a chance to create mix kind of chart types, some other ones with animations and so on. We wanted to keep it simple in order to basically display this kind of content in order for you to get quick and fast to the interaction with the dashboard itself. You can check out the documentation in order how to get started with the chart.js library. This is in some way kind of similar to what we're going to be doing right now to create that pie chart and the bar chart. Like I said in the previous one, we will need a canvas in order to put up our charts in there. And then basically passing in the kind of data. In this case, they're passing like hard-coded data, but since we already did all the preparation of the data with the get all leaf components and so on, this is what we're going to be passing into our charts itself in order to do that background, that display of the data. And then when it comes to the background color, again, they are doing some hard coding ones in here, but I already show you that we have a function in order to generate this kind of random set of colors. Every time the charts get generated, it will pick new colors. So you will never get the same ones. And also that could change. If you wanted to stay within a certain palette of colors, you can set up the random function in order to do that as well. And then also there are some kind of options that you can add whenever, let's say, you have certain events like clicking on a specific thing, what to do. And we are taking that into consideration as well, since when we click on one of the options in the panel, it will highlight the IDs within the viewer as well. So, and then there are some kind of more information about the different charts. For example, this bar chart, which is the one that we're going to be using. And they also have a donut and a pie chart. The donut basically, it kind of represents a donut with a hole in the middle. And the pie one will be just a full chart in the same way. So you can style it anywhere you want, align some kind of border to it, and then just create different kind of interactions and configuration. So this is a cool library to look into it. in order for you to build this kind of charts itself. Okay, so so since we're going to be using that library, we need to do a reference to that CDN in order for us to be able to invoke those properties from the chart.js within our project. So what we're going to do is in the index.html, we will add the script and the link that references the chart.js CDN libraries, and it should go inside of the head section. Okay, so we're going to copy this, head over again, and we are already in our index.html. And if you notice, also we have references to other kind of CDNs for jQuery, Bootstrap, JS3, the ones for the viewer, and so on. So we can actually do it. Let's do this location here. We paste this. We're gonna tap this one, tap this one, get rid of that extra line. So now we are referencing the CDN for the chart.js version with the minify file for JS and also the CSS. So now we will be able to start using functionality from the chart.js inside of our project. Okay, so now we're going to create the bar chart. So under the same folder, which is the JS dashboard folder, we will create a new file called panelbarchart.js. Let me copy this name. Inside of it, we will be creating a class called barchart, which will extend the dashboard panel chart that we created inside of the dashboard panel.js. So the constructor itself will focus on the property, and then loading mechanism basically will draw the chart, and then draw the chart will start with the definitions that we have from the chart.js in order to get the location of the element ID where we're going to be placing the graph in this case. What are going to be the colors, so you can generate those colors with the function that we created to do that random generation of colors. And then also we will get started with the new chart in a type of a bar, and then adding the labels as well. So we will get the labels for the individual objects that are getting passed on into the chart. So whenever we kind of like hover over on top of the chart, we will be able to see what are we going to be clicking on. And then the data set, again, basically getting a count instance of all the properties to be used in there. Background color, we'll focus on the colors.background, which is going to be referencing to this. Colors.border, certain width. And we will add an option, which will be the onClick event. So this onClick event basically invokes the viewer again. And what it's going to do is that it's going to isolate the category of object IDs, or the array of object IDs that are specific to the piece that we actually clicked on. So in that way, let's say we want to select everything that it's material glass, it will do an isolation, and it will only display to me everything that pertains to the material glass, and then the rest of it will be kind of like ghosted. And this is functionality that you guys can customize and change as much as you want. So it all depends what kind of experience do you want to represent into the users when you create this application. And the same thing we're going to do for the pie chart. So pie chart, bar chart, I will say an identical copy of one of the other. The only difference in this case will be the type will be a donut. Okay. You can change this to be, let's say, a pie chart like we have here. So where is it? Yeah, so pie chart, pie, donut chart, donut. Okay. So, and then we will need to add both of the scripts of the references after the dashboard panel.js. The reason that we do it after is because we're using functions in here that are pertaining to this. So if these are referenced before that, there's not going to be a way to actually identify where those functions are. So it might get a little bit messed up in there. And once we are ready with that adding on it, we're ready to run. In order to run the localhost 3000, select the model, and we will get to see the charts. So, and I will get back to the troubleshooting in a bit. So let me get started with that. So Visual Studio, again, we're gonna select the dashboard folder, create a new file, like copy that name from before, .js, so empty file. We're gonna copy the entire code for this panel bar chart.js. And now we're gonna move into doing the same thing for the panel pie chart.js. Actually, this kind of, it should be panel donut chart.js, but we can change that. It's okay. Both of them are circles at the end. So we're gonna connect panel pie chart.js. And then we're gonna paste this. We're gonna try with donut first, and then if not, we'll change it to pie. Just in that way, it kind of fits better what we're doing, okay? And so we have the code for both of them, and then we're gonna copy the references for those two new files that we just added. So we go back to the index.html, and remember, like I said, after the dashboard panel, we're gonna add those scripts. I have a couple of extra lines here that we don't need. So we save this, and I think we have everything safe in regards to the project. I'm gonna rerun again. Since we're working on a client side, we actually do not to rerun we don't need to rerun the server, but it's been kind of like hanging out there for quite some time. So I'm just gonna do a quick refresh of that. So we head over to the localhost 3000. We click enter again. I think I did change something. Let's see. Yes, I did something here. Okay, so let's stop this. I was playing around with some stuff while you guys were waiting, so I think I might have actually messed that up. So let's see. I just want to see that the project doesn't load fully. Okay, cool. Let's try that again. Okay. All right. So now when we select one of this, it starts loading the model. It finds the geometry. I will get back to this in a second. And again, it finds the geometry, and now it triggers the creation of those charts. Okay, so now we have, like I said, material. It's a property that most likely we're always going to have with one of the models. I could be wrong, but based on experience, I will say at least like 99% of the models that I have tested, they tend to have material information. So we can do a highlight for glass. Okay, so now we can start visualizing in our file everything that matches this glass category. Now, everything that matches that metal paintfish, like metal material. Some iron cast. We don't have that many of this one, I think. Kind of hard to click it, but let me see if I can click it here. Everything that it's grass, iron cast again, aluminium, and so on. Okay, so let me refresh this thing again. And then if you saw, I had something that got triggered with my console. So once it starts loading, it triggers this, right? So let me make this a bit bigger. This one as well. So if you remember, I told you that whenever we were creating that dashboard panel, there was something here that we were going to be kind of like defining what kind of properties we wanted to display on those charts. So if you see, because I'm passing in from the previous dashboard class that I want to create a new bar chart with material, this is one of the reasons it's basically invoking that kind of property into it. Okay, but we have access to the model data. In the model data, we can investigate what kind of other properties we could look into it. So these are all the different properties that we could assign to one of our charts in order to interact with it. So later on, let's say we can give the option to the user of, let's say, doing like a drop down menu that populates all these different kind of categories. If you see there's a long list of them, you can even curate that list to only show 5 or 10 of the ones that you prefer to it. Material, it's named here. So let's say we're gonna do a simple change and we're gonna name one of them category, okay? So just for showing you how this actually works. So let me get back to here. We're gonna go to dashboards. Instead of material on the bar chart, we're gonna do category. Save this. So now, if you see the property that I'm using, it's now category. It's no longer material for the bar chart. And that's actually what we want. So we hit play. And now for the pie one, we're still doing material. So now, if you see, my graph actually changed in order to show me everything that it's part of the property category. And the cool thing about this one is that, for example, we see that we have floors, curtain panels, curtain walls, roofs, windows. We have lighting fixtures, planting. We have some other ones that are quite small, like stairs, furniture system. I believe somewhere around here we should have furniture. It doesn't display all the names because other than that, I think I'm limited in the code in order to not crunch them all. But just kind of gives you some sort of idea of what you could be doing. So for example, this one, right? So windows. So we have 17 windows. Now, the cool thing about it is that this matches what this thing does. So if you see, now we have structural foundations, railings, some floors, roofs. We start kind of like getting a little bit close, and now we have this entourage one that was somewhere around here. I remember. I think it's this one. Yeah. We have doors as well, which is somewhere around here. Yep. So if I select one, it will highlight everything. It will hide everything, and it just highlight me the roofs category. So something pretty cool. So now we can get back to this thing, and done. Okay, so with that, where were we? Yes. So let me get to this thing. So for now, do you guys have any questions? If no questions, well, I will see you back in. Oh, there is. Oh, yeah, you can unmute, Scott.
Oh, My apologies for having so many questions.
No, no, this is what I'm here for. No
During,
worries.
I remember during the first virtual DevCon, I had a lot of struggles to understand parsing through the properties
Hmm.
of the model objects. And you've just shown an example where you switch from material to category.
Hmm.
Um, is that example that you showed also spelled out in the Learn Autodesk Forge um, tutorials?
Yeah. So if you remember when we were adding the part of the charts, there is a section here. It's called prepare data.
Yes.
All right. So this prepared data basically it ends up using this get all leaf components. That it's a method that we can find out more about it in the viewer extension. So if we go to viewer extension, there are, let's see, load extensions, and then we can start the enumeration of the leaf nodes. So the viewer basically contains all these elements on the model in this way, the categories, for example. And from here, we can take you into something a little bit more deep and defined when it comes to what this enumerating of leaf nodes on the viewer means. So in that way, you can start kind of like navigating into understanding a bit more in detail of what's going on with this enumeration of the leaves and the properties that are part of the model. Um, so that's something good to look into it, to be honest. I think it gives you some sort of understanding onto what. I don't know if you had that chance already to look into this.
Um, Only slightly. It looks like it's a recent addition. I mean, at least since that DevCon,
Yeah.
this I think this came after that.
Yes. Yeah, it's not too long ago that we added this part, so definitely it's something worth looking into it.
Okay, that's great. I'll look into that.
Hmm. And then I guess like I said before, it's always good to kind of like take it step by step. I would like to go through every single line of code in order to explain it more in detail, but that might actually take me longer than half a day to give the training. But that's one of the reasons that I can like briefly explain some of the stuff that you can look into it, and then just try to debug like step by step. One thing that always has helped me whenever I'm like doing some code or anything like that, it's to basically just go directly from just hitting a couple of like breakpoints, so we can start like seeing some stuff happening and then just understanding, oh, okay, so I have now, let's say, an array of all the database IDs that are part of the viewer, and I want to go through each one of them in order to start getting the properties of each one of them, and then just start getting that kind of value itself for each one of them in order for me to kind of group them in a way to create this kind of stuff in the charts later. Okay. So it's always worth kind of like going through and then just hitting a couple of breakpoints, and then in order for you to investigate and understand a little bit more in detail, and in basically hovering over whenever you hit a breakpoint on the client side to see what is the kind of data that we're getting. Okay.
Yes, that's great. One other quick question. You showed the grouping function where the model elements move, they group together, and there's a little icon that tells you the category. Um, I always wondered,
This one.
yes, the
Hmm.
clusters. I always wondered if it was possible to actually put the total of the items in that group in the text that gives the name, like right under there, say, oh, there's these are you have the doors. Okay, there's 12 doors here.
Like adding something else. I'm pretty sure that it can be done. It's just a matter of trying to identify what they're. So this is something that I mentioned before, that we still don't have fully access to this code in order to expose it to our third-party developers, because in that way you guys will have a chance um, to basically modify this extension to the better use that you guys might find. But with that said, we do have a way. So if you see, I'm actually telling you here how many of those plumbing fixtures do I have in there. So this number is available. So if I have a way to just, you could add some kind of other display message box or just some other chart in this side that will basically focus on the category values for the amount of numbers that we have. The information is there. It is part of the model, right?
Right.
So you could just, for example, if I highlight Windows, I know I have 17 windows because this is what I just basically clicked on it. So it's showing me 17 windows in here. So that amount of count, we can actually get it from analyzing the data itself. But adding that 17 next to this name here at this moment, it will mean that we will have to probably get into the CSS of this extension to check out what they did. And I don't have yet access to this code of the extension itself.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think I have another question from Sandy. Can you load other data from other sources for the charts? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You can load whatever data that you have. Let's say you have data that it's coming in from an external database, something that you have cloud-based, let's say on AWS or something like that. You can populate the charts with whatever data that you may have. It doesn't have to be the one from the model. We do it with the one from the model because it's the data that we have available at the time of loading this. But you can even have a full application that not even loads the viewer at all and then just populate different dashboards of the data of your cat model that comes in from a different location. Let's say kind of like some supplier database with cost for materials and so on. You could load that into here as well. And then if you want to connect it to the viewer, there's some mapping that needs to happen, but I don't see a problem with that. Any other questions? And also, Sandy, let me know if that didn't answer your question. I can explain a little bit more or let you talk to me as well. Okay, so I'm going to pause my recording before we continue. Awesome. All right, so welcome back, guys. Let me start up with, so the part of the show in the viewer, I show you that already. So by now, we should be done with adding the charts. And I want to ask you if you guys have any questions. And feel free to raise your hand. I can unmute your mic. Yeah, Scott, go ahead. I think your mic's still enabled.
Hi.
Yes.
I have the charts. I get an error message in the panel pie chart.js and panel bar chart.js.
Okay, let me move you as a panelist and you can show me.
Okay.
Okay, so let me stop my share and go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Cannot read. Okay.
So it says, it says property number 34. But other than that, it does.
Let me check mine really quick. should be fine. I don't know why it's giving you that error. 1 second. Oh, I think I know what it is. So when you when you click, so clean that console. Let me show you where. Right here. That X one. Yes. All right. So now click on like on that circle, but click on one of the properties. Yeah. Okay. So that one doesn't show, but if you click right outside, just a bit outside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's something that probably will need to catch later. So and the same thing happens on the bar chart. If you click in one of the bars, yeah. So you see when there's nothing there, yeah, it's fine. But there's
Okay.
some strange thing here.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So
cancel.
now let's try something else, and that way I can show the rest of the group what they need to add, because I just found a tiny bug that I had on the dashboard. So click again your model, like to load it again. That same rack advance, yeah. Okay, so now if you see, once it loads the charts, you see that you have now a scroll bar
Here?
Yeah, so basically it's adding the old charts and it's not deleting them. So I'm gonna show you guys what line of code you can add in order to avoid that. Okay. Okay, so clear all drawings.
Should I stop sharing?
Please. So let me start my sharing. It's something actually very simple, but I think I need to add it to the to the code. So what's happening is that basically I'm adding just a simple check to find out if the row length itself it's equal to 3. If it's equal to 3, we don't do I guess we don't do that part, and then we just do a return in order to adjust the layout. And then when it comes in again, we will start adding it. So let me show you. So once I refresh this, I click on it. Okay, so first time, no scroll bar. Let's add another one. So it doesn't clean it, but once the geometry gets loaded, it wipes it out and generates new one. So now we don't have that scroll bar, okay? So let me give you guys that line of code. It's actually quite simple. It's just a simple check on it. So there you go. So add it right before we start removing the classes of the row and right after we get the values for the rows. And that will be it. Sandy, so that tutorial was given yesterday, but I can point you out to the location where you can do it yourself. Basically, it's just a setup of an skeleton of the extensions, and then from there you can walk it through. And also, if you missed the tutorial from yesterday, we will have those recordings being posted later on, probably next week, in our blog post, so you guys are gonna be able to just rewatch those tutorials again. So for that part, like I mentioned, you go to viewer extensions. Okay, in the viewer extensions, we walk you through what is the basic skeleton that you need to create in order to add those new buttons into the toolbar of the viewer. Okay, So take a look at this tutorial. It's very similar to all the rest of them on the walking step-by-step process. So yeah, go for it. Oh, okay. So the ones yesterday is inside of the viewer. How about outside? So what do you want to add outside? That one I don't understand. Do you have a mic for me to enable your mic? And I'm gonna send you back, Scott. All right. You can talk to me now, Sandy.
Hey, Jaime, how are you?
Hey, good, good. How are you?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I think the ones that from yesterday is within the viewer. So there were
Mhm,
questions also like if we want to get rid of the icons or the buttons that comes with the viewer. I think
mhm,
somebody showed that you just go into the viewer, just remove the 3D inside the viewer GUID, and
mhm.
that removes
This entire
those
toolbar and all
buttons.
that
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
So
So
now if that is removed and you still want to add your custom button, so you
something
have to
like
do that from the
this.
outside at some point. Yep.
Yeah. So for example, for this one, basically what I'm doing is that I load the viewer without that GUID.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that GUI viewer library, and then
View
I just
3D.
start,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I just start adding my own custom buttons, and those buttons basically do some sort of interaction based on what I want to kind of like recreate into the viewer and so on.
So that's basically not a part of the viewer itself. That's
No,
just a
these buttons
button.
are they're just buttons that are being added on top of the div container of the viewer, and then
Okay.
whenever I click on something like this, I they are triggering those actions that interact with the viewer because I do
With the
have
viewer.
access
Okay.
to the viewer. Mhm.
Yep. Okay. And there's a repo of this.
This one, yeah. So
Yeah.
this one, it's a React-based application, so I can
Oh,
still
it's a
send you the
React.
repo.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess the client side itself could be it's quite easy to identify. So go viewer express, yes, headless.
Oh, gotcha. There you go. Yep.
So I'll send it to you guys here.
Okay. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, sure thing. All right. Do we have any other questions? Ooh, why is this thing getting big? All right. So now, if we don't have any questions, let me get back to my slides. So I need to ask you for some participation and tell me, are you guys at this point? And if you are, please raise your hand. And that way I can see all of you being part of this. All right, I still have a little bit under the 50% of people. Probably I'm in the background sound of some of you, but that's okay. All right, so, and then I have a question from Scott. Will everyone have access to the previous videos? Yes, everyone, even the people that actually did not attend the boot camps will get to see them because we're going to be posting them on our blog post. So don't worry about it. You will have access to this. Okay. So those of you that did not raise the hand, I'm going to assume that either I'm in the background right now or you are having problems with this, or you are done and just got a little bit lazy to click that raise hand. So let me ask one last chance. Did you guys finish and are up to the point where you're able to see your dashboards and so on? And if you have, please just raise the hand. Perfect. All right, cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate a lot. So with that now, good job. You guys did it. So now you have a full application using the Forge services and at the same time also the dashboard functionality. So cool. Awesome. Good job, guys. All right. So what's next? So tomorrow, in our series of trainings, we're gonna have modified models with design automation. So using design automation and the different engines that are available for design automation, we will do a training and teach you how to do this. It's going to be supported in 2 different languages on the server side, so Node.js and .NET Core. My colleague Augusto Goncalves, he will be taking care of the .NET Core one, and I will be taking care of the Node.js one. So if you are around tomorrow and you want to learn more about design automation, come and join us, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. So a couple of stuff about resources. So if you want to expand your knowledge when it comes to the viewer, let me take a question before I move on. Is that at the same time? Yes. Yeah, they're gonna be at the same time actually. So it's during the Americas time. Where are you located, Sandy? Maybe that could help out. Are you in East Coast or okay? So you are East Coast. I want to think at what time does the Europe one starts. It might be a little bit too early for you, but yeah, no. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, they're gonna be at the same time. So it's basically the same outcome because you end up with the application that takes care of that part, but it's more about deciding what kind of server-side language you feel more comfortable with. And also remember that they're gonna be recorded, so we're gonna have access to that later on. Okay, so in regards to the viewer resources, a good place to learn more about the viewer will be the documentation. From there, you can learn more about events as well. So the events that get triggered on the viewer. For example, we use one today, which is the onGeometry loaded event. So whenever the geometry of that model gets finalized, we were triggering the display of the dashboards. So now, and also we have access to the viewer 3D instance where you can find a lot of the different functions that we have for the viewer. We use the LearnForge material today, and you can learn more about it on the learnforge.autodesk.io site. So you can do some more stuff in regards to the extensions and so on. The chart.js library, which is what we use today, third-party library, open source that has really cool charts as well. So you can play around with those. And when it comes to support, we use Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow, if you add a tag of Autodesk-Forge and Autodesk-Viewer, or the model derivative one, basically goes directly to our system, and then someone from my team will take your question and reply to it as soon as we can. We usually have an SLA of like 24 hours to 48. October and November tends to be a bit hectic for us because of events, preparation for AU, and so on. And also, just that reminds me, if you haven't signed up for AU this year, it's going to be fully virtual. It's free to attend. We're going to have a lot of Forge classes with displays of the roadmap and also new functionality for Forge that it's coming up. So go to Autodesk University website to sign up, and then you can start registering for the classes. And then if you want to send us an email directly as well for support, you can do it to forge.help@autodesk.com. And we've been running this series of the Forge Doctor is in using Calendly. So you can go ahead and access the many different teammates that I have, depending on the time zone, in order to just book a time with us. Usually they happen with other people that also want to talk to us about any kind of questions they may have. I think we are gonna start moving that into making them like private appointments. So because a doctor, basically you don't walk in with a lot of people in order to discuss your stuff, but it's more about kind of like a private practice itself. So we're going to be migrating into that. I think some of my colleagues already did. I know I haven't done it, so I have to take care of that. So yeah, but join us for Calendly as well. What time is the Europe? Maybe I can. Can you please send me the invite? Yeah, I will send you the registration link shortly, and that way you can register for that one in case you want to do it. Okay, so with that, any last questions that you guys may have? If not, it will be time for me to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful for you guys, that you were able to expand your knowledge with the use of the platform, and then also able to create this this dashboard application. We are basically here to help, so definitely let us know how else can we help you out. Also, just to mention, we are going to be running a hackathon the week before AU. It's going to be free to attend. Come with a team of 4. Well, come meaning virtually, where we cannot get together because COVID. But yeah, so join us, team of 4 people. You can register. We have it available in Eventbrite. Actually, let me pull that out. Where is the... if I go to events, and go to hackathon. Yeah, so let me send you guys this. So basically, come with a team of 4, spend the week with us virtually. It's a hackathon that's going to get coverage 24 hours and during 5 days. We announced the challenges, so you get a little bit of a head start if you decide to go with one of the challenges. And then also the overall winner will get a chance to display, not the overall winner, sorry, the winner of each challenge, and also the overall winner will get a chance to display this to thousands of people that are registered for Autodesk University, in case you want to turn your idea into, I don't know, some kind of startups or something like that. So definitely come and join us. You can get also the registration for AU 2020 over here. We're going to have cool prices, so definitely it's something cool to look into it. On the first 100 registrations, we're going to send over also some cool swag. One of the things that you have to do is attend. So be part of the event. Don't sign up and then just never show up. Other than that, I will track you down. I will know your address. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so come and join us. It's going to be a fun event. It's going to be the week of November 9th to the 13th. That's going to be our next event with the Forge team. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time. I see we have some questions. So let me check. All right, so let's start with Scott. Is it difficult to switch the file tree? No, actually, it's quite straightforward. You can grab the part of the, let me show you, of the BIM 360 Fusion side of it, and just focus on the server side, and then probably some modification on the tree, but it shouldn't be too difficult. I will say, if what you want is to create this application with dashboards again, I will recommend doing this one from scratch, and then grab what you already have from the project that we did today, and then just bring it into your new project. That might be easier than fixing the new one that the one that you have right now, and then changing authentication and all that stuff, because you might end up missing 1 or 2 things in there, and that might actually break the project. So my recommendation will be do this one from scratch. It's kind of straightforward. And you will need a BIM 360 account for sure. And then from there, just add the next part of the dashboards. You already know how to do that. You did it today. All right, so let me see if I can clean up some of this. Sandy. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. No, I'm glad. I'm glad that we're able to help you out with that. So that's cool. Okay, let's see. Answer live, done, done. Okay, so yeah, with that, thank you again, guys, for joining today. Like I said, I hope it was helpful. So send us your comments if you want to interact with me on Twitter. Also, I'm on Twitter. I told you my hair was going to get a little bit drier by the end of this, so it's already showing I don't look like a puppy that just got out of the shower. All right. Well, until next time, which will be tomorrow if you decide to join the design automation one. And good luck with the rest of your development on the platform. So, cheers, and I will catch you up next time. Thank you. All right, let me stop my recording.